something that a lot of the players do mention in our post-game interviews a lot as well. Of course, you can find those on fcbayern.com. That floodlight games, especially as soon as the Champions League anthem comes on, is always something special. And that doesn't just come from the youngsters, but also from a lot of our experienced players. I think it was really great to hear from Matisse Tell as well after that game on Friday about the importance for him, and of course I think could have another good shot at starting in that game tomorrow. Of course, played the full 90, and I think that was great to see as well. And of course, sure, whilst Bundesliga is going to be really, really tough to catch up to Leverkusen, if there is one club in Germany that might be able to do it, it could be Bayern. But as we all know, it's not really in our own hands anymore. It does come down to Xabi Alonso's 11 or his entire squad having to make a couple of mistakes, and also other Bundesliga clubs needing to challenge them. And whilst on paper it might still be possible, of course, Thomas Tuchel and the rest of the team was quite clear that everything is going to be focused on game to game here in the Champions League. And I think we're all just looking forward to that and hoping, of course, that our run here is going to continue. And yeah, I think we talked about a couple of those stats that would support it already. One is also that, of course, at home against a lot of teams in general, but especially against Serie A opposition, Bayern have always been strong at the Allianz Arena. And at least the last 6 games that we had at the Allianz were all won against competition from Italy at a European level. And 4 of those actually did come with a 2-goal margin as well. And that's exactly what we're looking for tomorrow. Obviously, always more goals to be scored. It's important to have those runs forward, but also very, very important to keep an eye out for those counter-attacks. I think Italian teams are also well known for, and that is also something that Matthias de Ligt highlighted earlier. You can see him in the middle of the screen just there just now. And yeah, I think it was great to hear from him in that press conference earlier, just because, of course, he does have that insight of playing in Italy, and he also highlighted the importance of course, being strong in front, getting that pace, but also always being aware of the fact that you can, of course, always concede, and that's why it's so important to keep the strength in defense. Obviously, with that red card in the first leg. Is not going to be an option, so it's going to be interesting to see how Thomas Tuchel is going to line up in defense. I think Matthias de Ligt will certainly be one to get on the pitch there. And yeah, we did just see a focus on Jamal Musiala. And one thing for him, of course, is that I think he has game number 30 coming up in the Champions League if he does find the game tomorrow, and is now already the most of any German player ahead of their 22nd birthday in Champions League history. So yeah, he only turned 21 8 days ago, so he can certainly expand on that record. And he did seem quite relaxed. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing more of it. And I think, yeah, Eric Dyer could certainly be an option there. Min-Jae Kim, of course. But, yeah, I'm in good spirits for that game tomorrow. And I expect the Allianz Arena to bring that same energy that Thomas Tuchel talked about. That it is going to be so important for that to transfer to the team as well. And, yeah, sure, you might lose one down in Italy when there's plenty of Italian fans, of course, for Lazio. But, yeah, all in all, I think home advantage is always something that certainly makes an impact. And where the Allianz Arena support has been very important. And remember, of course, sure, even Bayern's recent history in the past couple of matches might not have been that strong. A lot of those losses or ties were down to away games where it didn't quite transfer as much, and sometimes the pitch conditions weren't exactly stellar. But yeah, the win is certainly up for grabs, I think. And all we need is that 2-goal margin. I could certainly see that game tomorrow being one where our Bayern team is going to be holding a grudge from that first leg and obviously want to score more than just to secure that win, but to really seal the deal. And yeah, I'd be expecting probably 3 or 4, but let's not go too far just yet. Of course, there is still a full 90 to be played. And margins are always going to be tough. And the pressure is certainly high when you have to come from the start. You can see some of the passing and dribbling drills the team is currently going through.
Yeah, but they didn't. If I do this, you go and you lay on your here. If I push there, turn on this side. If I push there, turn on that side.
Yeah, we can hear a couple of instructions given in the background on what that drill is going to be. Yeah, I think for Gnabry it's going to be really interesting to kind of watch along. He's obviously been out for a long time now, and whilst he is participating in the practice sessions, Thomas Tuchel was quite clear earlier that they can definitely still see that he's been out for a while. But he was also quite adamant in saying that he will probably be part of the bench tomorrow. Don't think there's any way that he's going to be starting. That would be a massive surprise. But yeah, I mean, he did have a couple of strong games before that injury, and then it was really, really rough to lose him at that stage. And same, of course, as we look to Leroy. He's been struck with a couple of different pain points, injuries, time and time again. And I think it was also quite interesting to hear from Thomas Tuchel and his impression, along with the physios around the team, of what's going to be possible. And of course, always just listening to that personal feedback as well from Leroy to hear exactly what he thinks, because he can only say how much that pain is going to be affecting him. I'd be surprised if Foundas starts. If he does, then probably not going to be playing the full 90. He only had about 30 minutes in that game on the weekend, and of course was also out decent phase. So yeah, not sure. I don't have the team news. Thomas Tuchel was, of course, quite clear earlier as well that he's not going to be leaking any of that, and I'm sure that we'll hear about it roughly an hour prior to kickoff tomorrow, as it will be very dependent on this final practice session that we're of course currently watching. Team is going through drills, and then as soon as we will leave them will probably be the time where Thomas Tuchel and the rest of the coaching staff will go a little bit more in depth with the squad in what the actual tactics are going to be for that game tomorrow. And then it's all about looking at it game to game, seeing what we can do, seeing how we can manage, And I think one thing as well is, even for Immobile for Lazio, his scoring has, of course, been strong throughout, but especially in UEFA competitions in the past, most of his goals have happened at home, so he's also quite comfortable with home games and doesn't usually strike as well away from home, which I think is all going to tie down to that. That's all just stats from the past, of course, and the game tomorrow is going to be a whole lot different. One of you asking if Sané's not training, but he is certainly out here. I've seen both him and Gnabry already. And obviously going to be really interesting to see how the development is going to be throughout the summer. I think all of us are just as interested at the club as all of you guys are, what the transition in the summer is going to look like. And we're all looking forward to even more competitions next season. But first of all, it's still the focus here. It's still only March. There's still so much football to be played. I'm sure we might have lost the first leg, but the prior two meetings to that, Bayern did win. Back in 2021. There you can see the bouncing balls, with especially as the sprinklers have been going the whole time during this practice session. Going to be interesting to see as well how that is gonna affect dynamics tomorrow. Of course, down in Munich, I think same as around a lot of Germany, the weather has been mild today, and the start into this week hasn't been as warm as we had on the weekend. I think tomorrow we might get a chance of rain towards the evening. Didn't look too deep into the weather reports just yet, but I think around like 10 degrees is usually what we've had around the past couple of days as well. The weekend was quite nice around most of Germany, a lot of sun. But I doubt that's going to be too wet tomorrow. I think if even, then we get a slight drizzle. I don't think that's going to affect the game too much throughout. Of course, as always, there's a lot more happening still once we do leave them with a live stream here at fcbayern.com. And of course, all of our social media channels are always the best way to stay up on top of the news with our Bayern squad. We have plenty of coverage still on the day tomorrow, as the team will make their way over to the Allianz Arena and then arrive ahead of that second leg. And we're all looking forward to hopefully team advancing to, of course, the next stage in the quarterfinals. And then it all starts again, seeing what two legs can bring us. So yeah, I saw a couple of you guys towards the start of our broadcast talking about potential starting 11s. I'm sure it'll be very interesting to see what Thomas Tuchel decides on with the rest of his team tonight and into the day tomorrow. However, that pretty much concludes our coverage of the final practice session ahead of tomorrow's second leg in the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League. Of course, a win necessary, 2-goal margin necessary to move on. And we're all looking forward to seeing if our Bayern team can manage. And we'll love to have you guys along for the journey if you're going to be on site at the Allianz Arena or maybe watching it on TV. And there's always our free coverage on our web radio on